11. So if it's a really long one, or I'll just cut into the conversation where everyone's saying hello to each other at the end,
Sure.
and
Okay.
leave you all to it. So who's going first? David, do you want to kick off, and then we'll go to Ansuk, or shall we have Ansuk first? I'd like to be Ansuk a little, give people a bit more
Okay,
time to get here.
I'll go first.
Yes. So you first. So we're ready. We're going. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, and assembled company, welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And this morning, in the UK's case this morning, it's middle of the night where Aunt Suk is. So I am broadcasting from a festival in Suffolk, the Folk East, which is a big folk music festival and a story. And we, of course, have a storytelling tent. And I'm working there with Justin Demir. David's down in the West Country. Ansuk is South Korea, Singapore.
South Korea.
Ansuk, so you told me you tell me every month. South Korea.
Yes.
Whoa. That was good. My memory cells are working. Jack is up in Scotland. Ali's in Marrakesh. So we've got a good global reach this morning. Yeah. Oh, David's got his visual aid, being being a first class educator. So we will start. I think we'll start in the West Country. Having said, in general with the Far East, I'm in the Far East of England. If I say I'm in the Far East, I'm in the Far East of England. David's in the Far West. And David, can we have a story from you? And then we'll go on to Aunt Suk. And if I disappear, it's on account of the fact that I have to do other work, like telling stories. But David, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, John. I'm in Exeter, in the southwest, like you said, and this is Asian and Australasian storytellers, but I'm an English storyteller and I'm going to tell a story from Africa. Why not? So let's go. I learned this story from a storyteller that many of you might know called Wangari the Storyteller, or Wangari Grace from Kenya. And so there's Kenya. And Wangari generously said that I can retell this story. I love this story. So here we go. Ooh, I have to get ready for this one. Blacksmith, make long sharp knives. So long sharp knives can cut the sky, so rain will fall and green grass grow. Cow will eat the green grass. Cow will give her fresh milk. Lazy dog will drink the milk. Shiara can beat the dog. Shiara will dance with Kamankura. Kamankura will track the cows. Kamankura will fight the thieves. Kamankura will bring the lost cows home. Once there was a village, and the village depended on its cattle. The villagers looked after their cows because their cows were their wealth, their livelihood. But one night, in the silence of the heart of the night, thieves crept into the village. Thieves silently crept past the sleeping dog and stole all of the cows except one. The eldest cow they left behind and crept away. And in the morning, the women came to milk the cows, and there were only one. Oh, they cried and they shrieked, and the elders came. Where are the cows? They looked at the dog. Lazy dog, you did not wake up. You did not find the thieves stealing the cows. The elders thought, how will we get our cows back? There is only one who can help us, and that is Kamankura. Kamankura is our strongest hunter, our best tracker, our greatest warrior. So they went to the young warrior, Kamankura. Kamankura, you must track the cows and fight the thieves and bring the lost cows home. And Kamankura looked long and hard at the elders. He was strong and he was fit, and he said, I will, if Shiara, the most beautiful girl in the village, will dance with me. So the elders went to Shiara and they said, Shiara, dance with Kamankura. So Kamankura will track the cows. Kamankura will fight the thieves. Kamankura will bring the lost cows home. And Shiara went to her dog, her lazy dog, and she said, it is not my fault. It is the dog's fault that the cows were stolen. And she took a stick and she was about to beat her dog. And the elders said, why? And she said, I will only dance with Kamankura if I can beat the dog first. We must ask the dog, said the elders. So the elders asked the dog, will you be beaten by Shiara? And the dog said, I am not lazy. The reason I didn't wake up is because I am weak. You haven't given me enough to eat. Give me fresh milk. Then you can let Shiara beat me. Well, the elders listened to this, and then they went to the cow. There was only one cow left, and she was the oldest cow. And they said to the oldest cow, Cow, give your fresh milk. So lazy dog will drink the milk. So Shiara will beat the dog. Shiara will dance with Kamankura. Kamankura will track the cows. Kamankura will fight the thieves. Kamankura will bring the lost cows home. And the cow said, I cannot give any milk. My udders are empty. The only way is if you bring me fresh green grass. Because look, the land is dry and the grass has turned yellow. The elders went to the rainmakers. And they said, Rainmakers, cut the sky so rain will fall and green grass grows. Cow will eat the fresh green grass. Lazy dog will drink the milk. Kamankura, Shiara will beat the dog. Kiara will dance with Kamankura. Kamankura will track the cows. Kamankura will fight the thieves. Kamankura will bring the lost cows home. Well, the rainmakers said, yes, we will dance and we will cut the sky so the rain will fall, but we cannot do this unless we have long, sharp knives. Go to the blacksmith. So the elders went to the blacksmith and said to the blacksmith, Blacksmith, make long sharp knives so the rainmakers can cut the sky, rain will fall and green grass grow. Cow will eat the fresh green grass. Lazy dog will drink the milk. Lazy dog will be beaten by Shiara. Shiara will dance with Kamankura. Kamankura will track the cows. Kamankura will fight the thieves. Kamankura will bring the lost cows home. And the blacksmith thought, I am a member of this community, and all of us depend on the wealth of our cows. Our livelihood is threatened. I will make the long sharp knives. And he went to his fire and he forged sharp knives. And the elders took the sharp knives. The rainmakers danced and the rainmakers cut the sky. Rain fell and green grass grew. Cow could eat the fresh green grass. Cow could give her creamy milk. The lazy dog could drink the milk. The lazy dog was beaten by Shiara. Shiara danced with Kamankura. Kamankura, he tracked the cows. Kamankura fought the thieves. Kamankura brought the lost cows home. And all of the village, all of the community came together and they danced. And as they danced, among them all, the most energetic and beautiful dancers were Kamankura, the young warrior who had brought the stolen cows home, and Shiara, who forgave her lazy dog. They danced and danced, and everyone danced with them. And the whole of the community, that interconnected community, celebrated and were full of joy. Thanks to Wangari the storyteller, Wangari Grace in Kenya, for giving me that story and let me share it with you.
Thank you, David. I love catalogue stories. With your permission, I will give the lineage, and I promise not to tell it on the internet. But I would love to do it in a field somewhere, where you are never going to appear.
I'll give you Wangari's contact. Do you know Wangari?
No.
Okay, I'll put you in touch, because Wangari would be a great person to get onto the World Storytelling Cafe.
Well, absolutely. Well, David, that was an amazing start, and there's so many implications in that story. I mean, I had post-colonialism going on in my head and all sorts of stuff. Well,
can I just interrupt, John, and say, well, I love coo stories. Anything with cows, I adore. But surprisingly, this morning I heard Wangari, the storyteller, for the first time, because I was watching the 88 Tales Around the World, and who was the featured storyteller but Wangari. And she told a wonderful story about a butterfly.
Thank you, Jackie. Thanks for the plug. Around the World in 88 Tales, everybody. Check it out. Get involved. Jackie's involved.
Now, I know where the
John
World
Storytelling
Storytelling Cafe.
Phil, you can add a story to the Padlet. It's fantastic.
I know we're the World Storytelling Cafe, but for people to join us, is it possible to have the Korean turn to English in the text bit at the bottom of your name?
I'll do it.
David is our savior.
There we go. Ahn Suk Kim.
Well, there we go. Ahn Suk. Yeah, you're one of the names that I actually remember from the. I could pretend that I could read Korean, but that's. Well, David, we're going to move from the west of England to South Korea, where Ahn Suk is sitting in the middle of a forest, and Ahn Suk. Well, okay. Sorry, David, the educator is with us. Hold your globe up again, and there is South Korea, and so Ahn Suk. Do you have a story for us this morning?
Yes.
Over to you.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
I am Ahn Suk Kim from Daegu, South Korea. It's from Seoul by car, 3 hours driving. And I really enjoyed David's story from Wangari, and I almost imagined Wangari's so powerful, moving and telling the story through David. But you're just telling the story very rhythmical and powerful and good message, like from little thing to the big, the whole community connected each other to solve their big problems. Even the dog and the mighty warrior and the blacksmith all together, just they helped each other and solved their big problem. I'm very impressed. It's really the story from Africa. I could feel the spirit of Africa. Thank you. And my story is from Korea, Korean folktale, and like I had told before, this is really a kind of trickster style, funny story, little story. Now I will tell you the quail and the fox. Korean quail is not like Western quail. It had a stubby tail. Western quail usually, when I checked the internet, it has beautiful long tail. But in Korea, our quail has stubby tail. And why did they have that stubby tail? I will tell you. Once upon a time, a hungry fox lived in the forest. There lived a hungry fox in the forest. The fox roamed around and finally he found the little quail. And as he was about to pounce it, the quail said, "Oh, please, fox, don't eat me. I am only your snack. But if you spare my life, I will help you to find a big rice meal." How's that? The fox remembered the delicious rice meal once he had eaten, so freed the quail and said, "You have to keep your promise or I will eat you up." So just at that moment, a farmer's wife was carrying a big basket full of rice and food on her head and passing by. So the quail said to the fox, "Go and hide behind the bush and wait. You will have the big rice meal in the basket." So the fox went behind the bush and waited. The quail approached the woman and sat in front of the woman. As the woman saw the quail, she thought, "Oh, what a fat quail. I will catch it and I will roast it for my son." So she just she bent down and tried to catch the quail. The quail moved just to the side. So the woman followed the quail, still one hand holding the basket, and with only one hand, she tried to catch here and there, followed the quail's moving. Then the quail ran forward, jumping up and down. So the woman found she couldn't catch the quail with one hand. So she put down her basket on the ground and chased the quail. The quail now hopped over the little hill and lured the woman to far away, just giving the fox enough time to eat the rice in the basket. So after a while, then the woman gave up and she returned to the basket where she had left it, and she found only the basket was empty. So the quail now flew back to the fox and said, "Fox, are you full?" The fox, "Thanks. Oh, it was delicious. I am full. Thank you so much." Then the quail said, "Now, fox, would you like to see something funny?" The fox was in a relaxed mood to enjoy something funny. Why not? So he smiled and nodded. So the quail said, "Stay here and watch in the bush." Then the quail flew into the sky. Just then, two pot peddlers appeared on the road. They were carrying their wares on the back. Just the first one walking in front and the second one behind. So they just walked one by one. And the quail flew down and landed on the first peddler's pot. So you can imagine the second peddler saw this and he thought, oh, what a fat quail. I will catch it and we will enjoy wine and a roasted quail at the next stop. So at first, he tried to catch it with one hand, but the quail moved left and right. So the peddler grabbed his stick and swung it and hit the quail, but the quail quickly flew up into the sky, and instead of the quail, the stick hit the pots, and the pots broke into pieces. Wajang chang 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 chang. And the first peddler was so furious. What are you doing? You broke my pots into pieces. He was so furious. He had no time to listen to his friend's excuse. He just turned back and with his stick, he began to smash his friend's pots. So the fox in the bush watched this and he doubled over with laughter. Soon the quail came back to the fox again and said, now, fox, you had good food and you enjoyed good laughter. So would you like to see something make you feel painful and tearful? Without thinking, the fox nodded his head with curiosity. Okay, what's next? And the quail said, then dig a hole and get inside. So the fox dug a hole and went inside. So the quail just covered the hole with the soil and only the tip of the fox nose to show. And the quail sat on the tip of the fox nose to be a decoy. And just then, the salt peddler with the A-frame carrier passed by, and he saw a sleeping quail on the ground. So he thought, oh, what a fat quail. I will catch it and roast it. And just quickly, he grabbed his pole and with his all strength, he hit the quail and the quail flew into the sky so quickly, and instead of the quail, the pole hit the tip of the fox nose. The fox even couldn't make sound of howl, although he was so painful. After the salt peddler had gone, the quail came back to the fox, and the quail teased the fox. Now you've got what you wanted to. How's the feeling of painful and tearful? The fox was really furious and he just howled, you sly, evil creature, and he attacked the quail. And this time the quail was not so lucky. He was caught between the fox's teeth. Now the quail said, oh, dear fox, forgive me. Please do me a favor before I die. I have an old mother and I wish to see her once again before I will die. Then I will have no regret. Please shout, mother, to be heard to my mother for me. So the fox just agreed, complied with the quail and shouted mother as he opened his mouth. The quail quickly flew into the sky, but as he flew up, the fox also managed to chomp down on the tail of the quail, and dung from the surprised quail fell on the tip of the fox's nose. So people said since that day in Korea, the tail of the quail has been stubby and the nose of the fox has been white. Thank you.
Whoa.
Wow.
That was fantastic. And also just one of the most complicated trickster's tales I've ever come across. That is amazing. I'm just...
So you found something new.
So...
Excellent.
This is the site I'm on at the moment. This is the festival site.
All right. Yes.
We're on Zoom at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was a gentleman coming to talk to me. Fantastic. That's what festivals are about. And now I can't see who has joined us.
Can I just say something, John? I mean, on Souk, that was just incredible. That was just. As always, I want to ask you the same question as always. Is it okay with you if I retell that story on Souk? Because it's absolutely fantastic.
Please, that's my pleasure.
I really love that story.
And can I on Souk? I promise not to say it in the same place as David. Ever.
Yes.
And I won't say it in South Korea either.
And I've just found something. I just want to show it to everybody. Look, can you see?
Oh,
it's just coming.
I just found a yellow-legged button quail, which apparently lives in. Is this a Korean quail?
I don't know.
I think so. I think it says it comes from the Far East, so it's got a very short tail, a stubby tail, like you said.
Aunt Souk is a storyteller, not an ornithologist. But fantastic, thank you for that, David. Now, I can't
said I'm
see...
an educator, so you know.
Well, absolutely.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you, David.
Has anyone else come in from the world?
Well, I think Phil and Jackie both come from the very far north of Scotland, don't you?
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah. I was thinking, have we got anyone else in from Asia or Australasia yet?
No, we haven't.
Ali, can you keep an eye on the waiting room? I'm sure you are anyway.
How could you?
Well, Jackie. Do you feel like being an Australasian at the moment?
Well, as long as I can have a Scottish twang, that'll be okay.
Well, yes. Well, it's a country of immigrants, so there would have been a lot. So let's take it back to when the Scots arrived there, to set up the huge the sheep farms and stuff.
There you go.
So Jackie.
I'll do a wee tale, but first I just want to say, Aunt Souk, I loved your story. Always, I love your stories. And like everyone else, may I too share it with people up here in Scotland. I'm sure that was a yes.
It was. It was more than a yes.
Was it more than a yes? Well, I think I need to tell a traditional story from the northeast of Scotland. And I will tell a story that comes from just a few miles down the road from me. And it's a fairy story. Aunt Souk, in Scotland, our fairies are a little bit tricksome. You really have to be careful because they have a habit of capturing people and keeping them underground for many, 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 many years. So you want to avoid the fairies at all cost. So this story is about a woman who flummoxed the fairies. She tricked them. Okay, and it comes from Durris. Fiona was the best baker in the whole of Deeside. Oh, her baking was famous. And the laird who lived up at the castle at Drum wanted her to come and bake a special cake for his birthday. Fiona was very honoured, but she knew that she would have to be careful because the route to the castle went past the Fairy Now, and she did not want to be captured by the fairies. So she got herself ready and she set off, keeping her eyes open. But those little fairies are tricksome creatures, and somehow she didn't spot them until it was too late. And they took her down and down and down under the ground into the fairy kingdom. And when she arrived, there, sitting on his throne, was the king of the fairies. And the king of the fairies said, "Oh, Fiona, we're so happy you've come because we love cake. Fairy cake is well known up here. I don't know if you have fairy cakes in South Korea, but fairy cake." So the king of the fairies said, "Please make some cake for us." And Fiona thought, "Oh no, what am I going to do? I'm captured by the fairies. I must find a way to escape." So she had a think and she said, "Well, okay, Your Majesty, I'll bake you a cake. I need a bowl and a spoon." And the king of the fairies said, "Oh, but we don't have any bowls or spoons." "Well," said Fiona, "I'll just go home and get one." "No, no, no," said the king. "I know what you're up to. You're not getting out of here. I will send my fairies." So up, up, up went the fairies and along the road into Fiona's kitchen, and back they came with a big mixing bowl and a wooden spoon. And Fiona said, "Okay, Your Majesty, so I'll need some flour and some eggs." "Oh no," said the king, "we don't have any flour or eggs." "I'll just go and get some," said Fiona. "No, no, no," said the king, "you're not going anywhere." And he sent his fairies up, up, up and along the road and into Fiona's kitchen, and back they came with some flour and some eggs. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Now, could I have some milk and some sugar?" "Ah, we don't have any milk or sugar," said the king. And once again, Fiona said, "I'll go home and get some." But the king sent his fairies. And this happened many times. Fiona asked for raisins. She asked for eggs. She asked for cinnamon. She asked for allspice. She asked for every single ingredient she could think of. But never would the king let her leave the kingdom. He always sent his fairies up, up, up along the road into her kitchen and back with whatever she requested. Well, the poor fairies were exhausted. They were absolutely funnered, we would say here in Scotland. They lay flat on their backs, dead to the world. And Fiona realised this plan had not worked. So she started to bake the cake, and she added in the flour and some eggs, and she began to mix. And the king sat on his throne with a big smile. Ah, at last she was baking. But then Fiona stopped, and the king said, "What's the matter?" "Oh, Your Majesty," she said, "Your Majesty, I need my dog." "Your dog?" said the king. "You're not going to put dog in the cake." "No, no, Your Majesty, but I need my dog to sit by my side and pat, pat, pat his tail. It gives me the right rhythm for baking my cake, and that's why I'm such a good baker. I'll just go and get my dog." "No, no, no," said the king. "I will send my fairies." So up, up, up those poor exhausted fairies went, and back they came with the dog. And it sat pat, pat, patting. And Fiona was stirring, and the king was smiling, until she stopped again. "What now?" said the king. Your Majesty, I need my pussycat." "Pussycat? What do you need your pussycat for?" "Well, you see, Your Majesty, my pussycat purrs, and it relaxes my shoulders, and my cake will be much fluffier and lighter if I have my pussycat. I'll just go home." No, said the king. And those poor fairies once more went up, and back they came with the pussycat. And the pussycat sat. And the dog went pat, pat, pat. And Fiona went star. And the king smile. Hi, Sweegan. Well, everything was going well until Fiona stopped once more. And the king said, "What now? Surely there's nothing else you could need." "Well, Your Majesty, it's nearly time to feed my baby. I can't concentrate on making a cake when I need to feed my baby. Can I just go home and feed my baby, please?" No, said the king. "I will fetch it." And up went the fairies and along the road, and back they came with Fiona's baby lying in its cot, sound asleep. Well, Fiona was thinking. What can I do? And she had an idea. So she stood on the dog's tail, and the dog started to bark. Woof, 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 woof. And the dog bit the cat, and the cat went, no, and scratched the baby, and the baby went, wah, wah, wah. You can imagine the noise. And if we were all in the same room, I would have you being the cat and the dog and the baby. And the noise was tremendous. And the poor fairies, well, they're just tiny. Can you imagine the sound? They were trying to cover their ears. They put their fingers in their ears. They put their feet in their ears. Above all that caterwailing, the Fiona shouted, "Your Majesty, the cake is ready for the oven." And the king said, "We don't have an oven." And Fiona said, "Shall I take it home to bake it?" And the king said, "Yes, but take that cat, dog, and baby with you." And so she did. She took everything and left, quick as you like, back down the road to her house, where she put the cake in the oven. And when it was ready, she delivered it to the fairy now. And every week from then on, she would drop off a cake, just so the fairies wouldn't be tempted to capture her again. And so, Ansuk, before I finish my tale, I will tell you that I often, when I am out walking in the woods, carry a fairy cake with me, so that if I am ever surrounded by suspicious creatures, I throw that cake over my shoulder and they run after it so I can get out of there quick. And that is my tale.
Whoa, Jackie, that was fantastic.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jackie. Wow.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Well, and I thank you, Jackie. I love that tale. Now, I might run out of battery soon, but I thought if no one else has joined, well, we'll have Phil.
John, Sui Yen from Singapore is here now.
Oh, please. Oh, hi, Sui Yen. How are you doing? Are you ready to tell a story? Sui Yen, are you muted? I can't see you. Just a sec.
Yeah, I think she might be having a bit of a glitch going on.
Well, while we're waiting, I'll just do a very short story from the far east of England. And it's about, well, a lazy girl. You know, she's just one of those daughters that just sits around, does no work around the house, and eats and eats and eats. And in Suffolk, they or Norfolk in the east of England, they call daughters mothers. And the mother had baked 3 pies, and she put them out on the windowsill to cool. And the daughter came along, the mother came along, and she saw the pies. And, you know, there's some children, if they just see food, and I don't mean little children, I mean teenagers, they will eat it. And she ate up all 3 pies. Well, the reason these pies have been put on the windowsill, and I should have mentioned this because it's not a story I've told regularly, is that they'd been put out so they'd rise. And so as they cooled, they'd rise. And the expression would be, so they come again. And anyway, we'll just let that pass by. And the problems of telling on a festival site. Anyway, the mother turned to her daughter and said, I mean, by this time the 3 pies had been eaten. She said to her daughter, can you go out and see if the pies have come again? And the daughter said, what do you mean come again? I've eaten them. But she went out and said, no, they've not come back. Well, when Mum realised what had happened, she started moaning in the way that some mothers do. Oh, what a terrible daughter I've got. Oh, she'll never come to anything. Oh, what am I going to do to her? When who rode by but the king himself. And he said, you must be really upset with your daughter. And she said, no, I wasn't complaining about her. I was just in wonder that she could spin 3 skeins of wool in one day. Well, the king, he said, wow, yeah, you're coming with me, you marry me, you know, because kings didn't do a lot of, you know, there wasn't a lot of chit-chat beforehand, you know. If the king wanted to marry someone, he just took her and married her. And so there was, anyway, he said, for 11 months, you can live like a queen. On the 12th month, you must spin me 3 skeins of wool every day. Well, 11 months went by. She thought, oh, well, that's all right. He'll have forgotten by the time 11 months gone. But of course, come 11 months, he locks her in a room with all the equipment to spin, the spinning wheel, the wool, the lamb's wool, the sheep's wool. And he said, I'll be in the morning to see what you've done. Well, she's sitting there and she thinks, oh no, I'll lose my head for sure. When a little fella, no bigger, and if you could see me, it'd be about up to my knee, coming through the window. And he said, I'll do your spinning for you. All you got to do is guess my real name at the end of the month. Well, you can have a go every night if you like. Well, the next day, of course, it was fantastic. I mean, this little fella, he had a long tail and sort of spun it round like a helicopter and flew out the window when he's finished his job. And when he finished, when next day the king came, and this went on day after day after day, and it gets the very last day. And the king comes in, he says, I tell you what, you're obviously going to be able to do this, but you got to have one more night. And but I'll just have a big meal with you, you know. And he has, I mean, it's all brought up on silver platters and things, and the king's nattering away. And he said, it's a funny thing, he said, I was out hunting today, and I saw in the bottom of a pit this funny little feather with a long tail spinning away. And he was singing to himself. He says, nearly, nearly not, I'll put you in the pot. Guess me or not, God, my name is not Tom Tit Tot. Oh, Tom Tit Tot. So the next day when he comes, he does his spinning and he says, it's time to guess my name. And she says, oh, I think your name is Matthew. Wrong. 2 goes left. I think your name is Bernard. Wrong. I think your name is top to top. Whoa, he is wild. That tail spun round so fast, he shot out the window. He never saw her again. Now, of course, the problem with that is that, as we all know, that a year will go by and she'll have to do it again, and she's not going to be able to do that twice. So she goes to her mum. She says, because mothers are wise, and he said, what am I going to do? Now, mother went to the old gypsy woman, who was a wise woman herself, and she said, after the 11th month, the king will just, at the last day, he'll allow your daughter anything she asks for. Tell him to ask for a big ball, a huge meal, a huge feast, and a big dance. In fact, a whole festival, and she can invite anyone she wants. And of course, and tell him to invite me. Well, that night, mum's there, the daughter's there, and the gypsy woman turns up. And before she's come, she's got a whole handful of axle grease and put it up her sleeve. And so when the king shakes her hand, it just and is covered in axle grease. You go, ugh! What is this? And gypsy woman said, it's the spinning, your majesty. The more I spin, the greasier my hand gets. And the king turned round, he said, I tell you what, wifey, you're not going to be, I'm not having you spinning ever again. So, you know, if you're in trouble, at the last resort, go to your mum and ask your way out. Right, now, David, who is it we've got?
We've got Sui Yen.
Sui Yen, are you ready?
In Singapore.
I wasn't really that ready.
Are you ready now? Are you ready now?
But I heard very wonderful stories. I was listening outside the room. Yeah, I heard
Okay.
so Kim's, yes, Ansuk's story and Jackie's. And I was having difficulty with Wi-Fi.
So, but you're not now. So
Yeah.
So are you ready to tell a story?
Yes.
Fantastic. Sui Yen, put our hands together. Welcome, Sui Yen. Sui Yen, the stage is yours. And David,
all right.
After this, can I just before you start, because my battery's about to run out, I'm going to try and get back to the car before. But if I disappear, David, can you announce the Rock the Casbah tomorrow at 6 o'clock? And I'm just going to run back to my car now and plug my phone in. And Sui Yen, I will be listening to you as I run.
Okay.
And can I just, Phil, will you tell a story after Sui Yen? Brilliant. Okay, so Sui Yen, over to you in Singapore.
Yes. Hello. As usual, I shall tell a story that my students wrote. I've always liked to feature the stories created by students from Northlight School, and this is with a group of older students in that class, and they came up with this particular story. So, in New York, there lived two good friends, Mohammed and Tom Lee. Both of them studied in Singapore long ago. They studied in Northlight School. They were good friends, and when they graduated, they found a way to go to the USA, to New York. And there they established themselves. They set up a school called the Royal Academy, a school of architecture. They were very successful. Now, Muhammad then got married and had a daughter by the name of Nadia. Nadia, as she grew up, she got to know Tom Lee as her uncle. And then she began to work at the Royal Academy. Now, strange things began to happen. Nadia noticed the funds, strangely, were missing. Money seems to be going somewhere else. The more she investigated, the more she realized Tom Lee was behind all this. Now, one day she found the evidence, and then she was going home. On the way, walking towards her home, she felt someone was following her. And when she got into her house, that mysterious person charged into her house. And then there was a fight, pushing here and there, and Nadia tried to remove the mask on the mysterious person. And then she managed to. It was Tom Lee. Tom Lee was trying to stop her. And Tom Lee had a knife ready to kill her. And just as he was about to do so, somebody came in. It was Nadia's father, Muhammad. Oh, he had been following his daughter. He had suspected something. And true enough, he came in just right on time. He stood in between the two of them, and that knife stabbed Muhammad. As her father fell into her arms, Nadia could only look and cry. Her father died in her arms. Tom Lee ran off. Nadia, she decided that she had to take revenge. Now, with the evidence, she looked around and she went to find Tom. She searched, she contacted people, and finally she found him. When she found him, she killed him. Unfortunately, the money that he had taken away, the money could not be found. What was she to do now? She was now a fugitive running away from the police. At this very moment, she asked herself, to be or not to be, to live or not to live. Never be Nadia again. Never be myself, she was thinking. I can never be the same Nadia that my father knew. That Nadia will die, and a new Nadia will live. So this is my short story from my students. It's rather open-ended.
Fantastic. And what wonderful students you have, Sri. Fantastic. Now,
Sri
my
Yan,
usual...
sorry, John. Sri Yan, can I just ask you? You talked about your students before. Is this the same school that's where
Yes,
you?
it's the
How
same
are we?
school.
Very good.
So, am I right to think that the students are mostly like neurodiverse students?
Yes, they are.
Oh, it's wonderful. And another time, I'd love to know the process you go through in creating these stories. They're absolutely brilliant. And it's so wonderful that you're representing your students by retelling these stories on a platform like this. It's fantastic.
Yes, and after that, this video that is available, I would share it with the school teacher, and the students would actually watch it.
Fantastic.
So they have a sense of, I believe they are quite proud of themselves that their story is being told. I told the last story, and that was shown to them.
Let's say hello to your students. Tell us the name
Yes.
of your school again.
Yes, please do say hello to the students of North Light School.
Everybody turn on your microphones. Hello to the
Hello,
students of
students
North
of
Light
North
School.
Light.
Woohoo!
And welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And we are incredibly pleased to have your story broadcast to the world.
Fantastic.
Suyan, I told my little students about the story I heard from you, made by your student, the 4 girls at the birthday party, the runaway criminal came and they tried to run through the window. I still remember so vividly. That's, so cute but scary story. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I tell you, they are so creative, and sometimes, like the murderer story, reminded me of a Grimm's tale, and I was thinking of how to present that story on behalf of them, and then I was searching for similar kind of stories, and I came across a Grimm's tale, and I go, wow, they could be grim.
Fantastic.
When it,
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Sui Yen. And I think we're going to have the final story shared today. A wonderful selection by a select group of story sharers today. Over to Phil.
Well,
And where is Phil?
Oh, wow.
Remind us where you are, Phil.
The northeast of Scotland. I had decided what story I was going to tell before that story was just told, but it actually is a perfect lead-in. The very, very early days of me being a storyteller, I joined an organisation called the Grampian Australasian of Storytellers, and they run some workshops. And this workshop was being run by Jackie Ross, who is here today, and it was on Doric storytelling, but I will try to be as posh Scottish as I can be today so that you can understand me. And this is the very first story that I ever wrote as a storyteller, and it's from that course, and it is now one of my staple stories that if I'm stuck for a story, I can go to it. It's got my dad in it and things like that in it. Jackie set up a prop table, and you had to pick something from the prop table, and it had things like maps and just anything that you could possibly use as a prop for a story. And you had to pick that off the table, and you had to go and write a story and, well, make up a story and then tell it to everybody on the course. So this is a made-up story. It's from the prop, which was an Ordinary Survey map, and that's the maps that we have for the whole of the United Kingdom. Every bit has got their own map, and it was actually the map of where I live. Something had been said during the day, an urban legend about a local loch, and I stole a story out of a film. And the three combinations of that created the three Jimmies. And I'll explain what a Jimmy is in the story. So there is these three local farmers around Stonehaven, my hometown. There is James Don. He is the one with the most land, and he's always called James. There is Jimmy Innes. He actually is my godfather. And there is Jimmer. And Jimmer was my dad. And that is how you distinguished the three Jimmies. So every Monday night, the families of the three farmers would get together, and we would go to each other's farms on a Monday night, and the wives would be preparing their whatever they were doing for the women's rural. So they always had competitions, whether it was baking or sewing or crafts. So they would be working on that. The farmers would go out shooting, and the children would have a ball, because there would be three groups of kids together out on farms doing things with no adult supervision. But that is a totally different story and for a later day. But this is about the three Jimmies going away shooting. And they went down to the local big house, which had a loch round about it, because they knew there had Canada geese had landed there for the night on their way north. And it was they were going south because it was winter, and it was getting cold, and it was the night of the first frost. So the three Jimmies had creeped in about to the loch side, and they'd got their guns up, and they were going away to shoot with their shotguns. And they knew that there were so many geese together that one shot would get more than one bird. And they thought they were going to have a marvelous feast for the next few days. And just as they got to fire the guns, the temperature just dropped. And everything just froze. And they almost had to drop their guns because they were so cold. And the loch froze. And one of the guns went off when it was dropped, and the geese got up and started flying. Well, they were stuck to the loch, and they took the loch with them, and up it went. Well, they had a little bit of coordination because it did look like the wacky races to start with, because the loch went this way, and then it went that way, and it went up, and it went down, and it went round about, but you could hear them squawking like mad. And they must have got some control of navigation. And all of a sudden, the loch got a smooth path, and it started going in a bit of a semicircle out into the North Sea, round a bit, up over the top of Aberdeen, round by Bridgedawn, round about a wee bit further, and back down to the Loch of Skene, or the Linn of Skene. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead with my story. To the Linn of Skene, and that was where they run out of puff and they landed with the loch. And the loch that used to be at Stonehaven is there no more. And if you think I tell a tale, you walk past Fetteresso Castle in June when the rhododendrons are in bloom, and in the middle of a park of barley, you will see an island of rhododendrons, and that is where the loch used to be. And if you go up to the Linn of Skene, where urban legend says it's a man-made loch, it's not. It was made by the geese that got scared on the freezing cold night at Stoney, and the loch at Linn of Skene was stolen from Stoney and hidden there by the geese. And that is the story of how the loch got to the Linn of Dee.
Phil, that was amazing. What a great day. What a great day we've had. We started with David, with that fantastic African catalogue story. Aunt Sook with the magnificent trickster story that went all round the houses. I mean, it was just, if I want to retell it, I'm going to have to listen to it 3,000 times so I can get all the complexity of it. I'll use it as an anti-Alzheimer's exercise. And then Jackie, yeah, well, thank you as always. And Phil, I mean, I just got this vision of geese flying across the sky with a frozen loch attached to their feet. I mean, how good is that? What a way to finish. So from here at Folk East, and Ali, of course, down in Marrakesh, who's been keeping the flying carpet, the magic carpet flying.
Thank you, everyone.
And David.
Don't forget Sui Yen's wonderful story as well about the
Sui Yen, sorry.
the Nadia story.
Yeah, I told you I had Alzheimer's. No, Sui Yen Sweet. Yeah, I love the fact that you bring your pupil stories and retell them.
Fantastic.
It's just, because it's part, the more we can encourage young people in any kind of creativity, it's just so important now, so they're not totally immersed in a totally mechanized world. Creativity is fantastic anyway. Some of us have blagged a living out of it forever. David, thank you for being ready for if everything fell apart on me, and also guiding me on who was here. It's very difficult on a phone in a field to work out what's happening. We've got coming up tomorrow at 6 p.m, of course, in the Far East. That is the Far East of Asia, not the Far East of England. It will be the middle of the night for you, but 6 o'clock in the evening UK time, we have Rock the Casbah, which is a fundraiser for our festival in Marrakesh in February. Look up that on the website. Of course, everyone's welcome. You know, anyone who turns up will get to tell a tale. I like the thought of knowing a few things in advance, but I leave things loose enough so you know, whatever happens, happens. So it could be the most chaotic storytelling festival in the world, or it could be the most wonderful. I think it'll be most wonderful because we've got people coming that have only met each other on Zoom. Unfortunately, David can't get there, can you, David?
I don't think I'm going to be there in person, but I'll definitely be.
Oh yeah, we'll bring you in on the big screen.
Remotely.
We've got a screen in the storytelling centre, so and of course we'll do 10 o'clock in the morning, so so we can have the Asian and Australasian tellers as part of the festival. So even if you can't come, you will be part of the festival. So because I can't have An Suk and Sui Yen not being part of the festival, it would be remiss of me. I mean, you've just made all of you in the Far East have made an amazing contribution to these monthly sessions. The next one will be in 4 weeks' time, and I don't know when that is. I might even have a diary next to me, or I might not. Okay. And no, it's somewhere in my caravan. But whatever 4 weeks, 4 Saturdays time is, then that'll be your next
The 18th.
18th.
Is it near the 25th? Is the last? Is it the last?
No, it's 4
Well,
weeks.
I kind of like 4 weeks, every 4 weeks.
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
What's An Suk? Well,
that's my
what is
phone.
better to make it the last, or I think 4 weeks is good. I think every 4 weeks is good.
I can do the 18th, but I can't do the 25th.
Well, in that case, it's the 18th. Can you write that, David? Could you do me a favour and message me with that?
Okay.
My decision. I've made my decision, and then I'll forget it. So David needs to remind me. But thank you very much all for coming. And on Tuesdays we have at 5 o'clock in the evening, which of course for some people is the middle of the night, and they can't. While we're on the subject of young tellers, we have 18 years and younger tellers on Tuesday at 5 o'clock UK time, 5 p.m. UK time, and that's just, I find that the most inspiring regular day of the week, because you just see all this young talent coming up, and it's fantastic. So without further ado, and because I'm in 4 minutes time, I'm due to be live. David, have you got any final words?
Yeah, I was wondering, can the few of us just have a quick chat about?
Yeah, I'll leave. You can talk about me behind my back. And because obviously I'm the centre of attention.
It's relevant to you as well, John. What I wanted to say is just about how these stories, we all know this, but how the stories, we don't know what happens to them after they've been told. But already we've had this indication that Sui Yen told a story which An Suk told to children in South Korea, and equally on the Around the World in 88 Tales, Sui Yen told a story about Spear Shield, which I told last week in the back garden of the museum to some girls, and two of the girls were both of Chinese heritage, one from Hong Kong heritage, one from Han Chinese heritage, but they were born in Exeter, but they loved hearing a story from Chinese heritage, so that was a lovely moment. And equally, my friend Kim Wei, who's a musician and a spoken word artist, and who did the theme music for my project Around the World in 88 Tales, I Can't Buy This World, he, I should say, retold the story of An Suk's story about the donkey fart.
Oh
And,
yes, I remember
and
that. That
Kimway
was
said to
brilliant.
me, "Oh, I went to a festival where I was, for the first time, I was there as a spoken word artist, and I told Donkey Fart, please, David, tell me who you learnt it from." So I told him, oh yeah, Ansuk Kim. So next time Kimway tells it, he will attribute it to you, Ansuk. So these stories just go flying around
And
everywhere.
and you know, just to you, they keep fresh, because there's a story I've been telling of Gail Ross's, who's a Native American teller, Cherokee teller, for years. Probably from before, when you knew that it was polite to ask permission, and I've been telling it for about 30 years. And it's about how frogs got their long back legs, and then Baba C from Washington D.C. told a story of why frogs live in ponds, and I've changed the whole thing has got freshened up, because I begin the story with frog lived in a pond. Do you know why frogs live in ponds? And then I told Baba C, and then I put it in. So they're living stories are living organisms. So I just I'm loving this, and I promised I was going, didn't I? So you could get a word in edgeways. I must leave and now rattle on some children up in my tent.
Have a lovely time.
Yeah,
Have a nice time.
thank
Have a
you.
nice
But Ali, keep it going until David says it's time to say goodbye.
Oh, okay, John.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Cheers,
Thanks,
John.
David.
Have a good session. Would anybody else like to say something about what we've just been talking
Yeah,
about?
Suyen, you are my favorite storyteller in
Oh,
Singapore.
oh,
And
so cute.
Jackie,
And
I
so I
love
learned a
you.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Suyen, I love your voice and the theme and the story you chose, everything.
Oh, thank you. I like. Thanks, David, for telling us where our story went. It's kind of very nice to hear that our story. You know, sometimes you don't know what happened to the stories, and it is nice once in a while, and you find somebody says that, hey, I remember hearing this story that was told, and it really feels very good within.
Well, these
Yeah.
two girls, one was 10 and one was 11, and we were at the top of the hill in the garden, but down at the bottom of the hill, because it's quite a steep garden, was one of the girls' grandmother. And I said, "Oh, does your grandmother want to come and listen?" And she said, "Oh no, my grandmother doesn't speak any English." So I said, "Okay, but after this, please go and tell your grandmother the story about Spear Shield and ask her if she knows it." Now, I don't know if she did, but can you imagine? After that, maybe she went down the hill, told her grandmother Spear Shield, maybe trying to translate it into Chinese, or I don't know, and then her grandmother thinking, I'm sure her grandmother would know that story, right? If she speaks
Yes, I'm sure.
Mandarin.
I'm sure.
I think she
Yeah.
was a Mandarin Chinese speaker. So, I mean, fantastic.
Oh, and through the story, she's building a bond with her grandmother. That is
Exactly.
Yes.
Making those
connecting
connections.
with her grandmother. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, this is what we dream about, isn't it? Yeah.
And David, thank you for inviting me to this World Storytelling Cafe of this Asian Australia storyteller, because this place, even on Zoom, I feel so comfortable and friendly. And I can't find this kind of friendly and comfortable atmosphere from other storytellers Zoom, because I still, what I want to express in story and the real story I told, still big gap because of my language. So when I feel really comfortable and friendly, I could do my best. And if not, I am so much like, frozen.
I agree with you, Swean, and that's what attracted me to the World Storytelling Cafe, and a lot of it is to do with Mike Wood, who established it, but more than anyone else, it's John Rowe, because John is a totally open person, and he just accepts and welcomes every kind of story and storyteller, and so his ethos coincides with mine and yours and the people who are attracted to the site. It's about friendliness and openness and sharing across cultures. World Storytelling Cafe is a very suitable name for this project, isn't it?
So say my thanks to John. David, please. My sincere heart.
Oh well, and also you can always send him a message.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ansuk, I'm going to ask you, do you have any of your stories that you tell in Korean online?
No,
Okay.
in Korean, I will tell and make YouTube video maybe soon. But Korean storytellers, they tell these Korean stories so well, but they are still so shy and don't expose themselves to online or YouTube. That's very sorry.
Yeah.
No?
I'll tell you why. My granddaughter has decided that she wants to learn Korean. And so she has been studying Korean for the last few months. I think this is because of your pop groups, to be honest.
K-pop.
Yeah. She's a big fan. But she is quite taking it quite seriously. So I thought if you had some stories in Korean, I would get her to listen.
So maybe I can find many that kind of stories on YouTube and send it to you. So Jackie, please send me your email address. Then I will find and send you the YouTube.
And so we want to listen to that trickster story in Korean. You must record yourself telling that story in Korean.
Yes.
That would be a brilliant thing, because if you have a recording of the same story in Korean and in English, then people like Jackie's your daughter, Jackie.
Yes. My granddaughter.
You can't be old enough to have a granddaughter old enough to listen to K-pop.
Actually, I gave birth to my son when I was 24, and he gave birth to his daughter when he was 20. Well, his wife did when he was 24. So we are 3 generations of ox, born in the year of the ox.
Ah,
yes.
Wow.
That's why you're so interested in cows.
Absolutely. And actually, I forget, my father is also Year of the Ox. So we have 4 generations of Year of the Ox. Yeah.
Phil probably knows this, but Ansuk and Sui Yen, I don't know if you know this, but Jackie has a wonderful story on her YouTube of her telling a story in her cowshed. Oh, is that on YouTube, or is it part of the Crest course? I can't remember now.
I think it is on YouTube somewhere. I think
YouTube.
It's definitely on Facebook.
And the cows are all listening to her telling the story. It's on her farm. It's got cows.
Okay, I will check on YouTube. And please, Jackie, through David, let me know your address, email address.
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Hi, David. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
David, we're literally just having a chat. We've kind of finished the story sharing. We're just about to say goodbye, but it's nice to see you.
Oh man.
Thank
You forgot.
you. You've been
Am
behind the
I
scenes.
seeing? Oh, sorry, Sweewen.
No, I was just saying thank you to David Thompson for being for his work behind the scenes.
Thank you, David Thompson.
What more I need to hello. The paper.
What's your favour you want, David?
All right, down.
Okay, you're going to write it down. Cool.
I forgot to tell you what the film was that I used in my story.
Yeah.
It was the map was of where the farm where I was, and Fetteresso Castle is below it. And when I was a child, there was a loch there, but it was drained. So that was where the idea of the missing lock goes. Someone in the training course earlier on had spoken about the Linnaskeen being a man-made lock, and that was an urban legend of the area. And the bit about the geese, the lock freezing, what came out of, I don't know if you would know the film Fried Green Tomatoes in the Whistle Stop Cafe.
Oh, with Julia Roberts.
No, Kathy Bates and oh gosh, there's four wonderful female actresses in it, and there is a storyteller in that film who used story to help people through problems and things like that. And that was one of the stories that she told. But the lock went from Alabama to Georgia in that version, but it went from Stoney to Linnaskeen in mine. And that's how that story came about. It's a bit of strip mining from various different things. And that story has stuck with me. I love telling that story.
Oh, all storytellers are thieves.
Just before we go then, David is asking Ansuk if she's on Facebook. Is that right, David? Yeah. You mean as in telling stories, or just with a personal page?
I don't think you are on Facebook, are you, Ansuk?
Yes, but I don't go and upload my Facebook often, so I have to, but I didn't, and I have many my video on YouTube. So later I will show you, Jackie, my YouTube. Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Is your YouTube it's in English, isn't it, Ansuk?
You can't find because in Korean, but I can send you URL. I'm so sorry, very local person. I have to change in English maybe later.
But on YouTube, are your videos in English or in Korean?
My English storytelling mostly, but some Korean storytelling, but you can't find just tapping my name on the YouTube. Really? It's hard to find.
And so is it?
We send me the link.
In Korean, Kim Ansuk, I use on YouTube. So
we can't type in English like that, huh?
Right. David is going to have to pass it out to everyone.
Okay.
Yes.
I find it. Stories with Ansuk Kim.
Oh, okay. I'm going to try and copy that.
Oh no, that's Word Storytelling Cafe, right? Okay.
Later, I will change in English.
I see Ansuk Kim. I find it.
Oh, really?
Kim Ansuk Storytelling.
Yes.
Okay. Right. You're going to get a rush on.
Thank you.
You'll get lots of likes.
That's you, right?
Yes.
Excellent.
How did you find?
You're famous.
Even I couldn't find it.
How did you find it?
Your name in.
Really?
Maybe Ali, could you stop streaming now?
Yes, David.
Could you stop streaming, but leave the room open for a few minutes? But maybe stop the live stream.
Okay, David.